the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, and welcome to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. Today, I am sitting down with an MSer from the state of New York. I met Mike on social media a couple weeks ago. We had a couple of great conversations. He wanted to come on and talk about his journey with his diagnosis. Please welcome to the podcast, Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Hey there, Brian. Thanks for having me on today.
I appreciate you, my friend. Anybody that wants to come and just kind of explain MS a little bit better so people understand it a little bit better, I am all for it, my friend. Hey, Mike, you got diagnosed in '98. You're a year after me. What kind of symptoms were you going through that kind of threw the red flags up that something wasn't right and you went to see a doctor?
Well, it's funny. I worked on Wall Street when I was diagnosed, and I was in my office, which was a little glass cubby off the side of the trading floor. And I had my team in my office, and I was complaining about the losses, and we were experiencing the bad P&L. And I had a yield curve up on the whiteboard. And for anyone that doesn't know what a yield curve is like you see on the news, you're talking about profits and losses, and the trend's down, the trend's up, blah, blah, blah. So I had a marker in my hand, and I was motioning on the board that, making marks as to where we should have hit, where we didn't, and all that kind of good stuff, and ranting and raving, as I was known to do. I was kind of stressed out, and I just lost control of my arm. I just lost control of it. It just fell down and made a big line on the graph, and everybody laughed because they thought I was making fun of the losses. But I knew at that moment, this was something bad. I felt I had no control in my arm. Mm-hmm. Then I felt that tingling, which all of us has felt, and that dead feeling in your limbs. And then it spread from my arm to my neck, even my face, down to my hip, my leg. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is no good. This is no good. So I immediately thought I had a brain tumor. Okay. Because my father had a brain tumor. My aunt had a brain tumor. So I was like, I got a brain tumor. All right. So I quickly ended the meeting, and then I skedaddled and I took off, and I went to my local GP, and I Monty, I got a last minute to see Monty. I went in to see the doc, and I was like, Doc, I got a brain tumor. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, I got a brain tumor. I know it. And he goes, no, you don't. And we did this back and forth. No, you don't. Yes, you do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. And they said, listen, I'm going to send you to a good neuro that I know. He's going to do a few tests, and we'll figure it out. But he said, trust me, you don't have a brain tumor. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So go to the neuro a couple of weeks later, a couple of cycles of steroids later, they tell me I have MS. Now, that's the part where it gets kind of crazy, is, as all of us have been in that room and had that news delivered to us, right? Yeah. You have MS. So, and then at that point, it becomes like it's Charlie Brown's teacher. I'm just faded out. I'm thinking about this and that. What the hell does it mean? I just had 2 kids. I got 2 young babies. What am I going to do? Yeah. Am I going to be the dad that they're struggling to push around and take care of and compromise their lives? I just don't know anymore. Yeah. So, and then as I walk out, I see all of his patients. They all have some type of wheelchair or rollate or some type of assistance. Mm-hmm. And as I walk through them, contemplating the rest of my life and what's left for me, I see them, and I'm like, this is my life. Yeah. And I get downstairs to the parking lot. It was a local doctor. It was on Long Island. I live on Long Island. And I'm one of these guys that likes to just go it alone. I don't like to drag my family in and let them worry about me, which, if that's a mistake or not, I don't know. It's the course site shows. Yeah. Do I think that's something I would recommend to people? No. But I think it's important to include your family and get the support that they want to give you. Yeah, I agree. So chalk up the first thing I learned in my mistakes of handling MS. That was one of them. We all make mistakes. But my wife was down there, and she was in the parking lot, And we were talking before the visit. It could be MS, it could be this, it could be that. And I'm praying it's Lyme disease, right? I'm praying for that, right? Because I wanted to be Lyme disease in the worst way.
Yeah,
So, oh, okay. And she leans out the window of the SUV. We got the two kids in the back. She leans out and she says, MS? I was like, yeah. And puts the car in park, steps out, gives me a big hug and says, we'll get through it.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
And yeah. And I said, all right, I don't have a choice. I can't fail at this anymore. I gotta be there. I gotta make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's I spent a year denying I had MS, even though I knew I had it. I quickly learned the old saying, denial is not just a river in Egypt. So and then after a year of taking no drug therapies, I got onto Avonex. Took Avonex for the next 3 years. Um,
How come you waited a
in
year
the
to,
old days
let me ask you this, Mike.
because
How come you waited a year before you started your DMT?
because I was a loser. I was rebelling to the fact that I had MS.
God, gotcha.
I'm not sick. I can do it. And and in that year I had three exacerbations.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so then I said, Doc, I got to get on something. Let's do Avonex. Like I liked the stuff I read. I liked the compound, the molecules. Like, all right, let's do this. Back then there were only three DMTs. You
Yeah.
had Avonex, beta seron,
And
and
Copax.
Copaxone.
Yep.
Right. So then I was watching the research and watching Rebif coming out, and I liked the thought. It was the same drug, but um, a different delivery system,
Mm.
different size quantities,
Right.
and the efficacy seemed to be better. So I was like, okay, this makes sense. I think more is better. So I spoke to my doctor about it. He was like, listen, I'm all with you. And I wanted to be active. I started long distance cycling at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just to prove that I could listen. Cycling was never anything in my cars. Like I was telling you earlier, Brian, like when we
Yeah.
spoke last time, cycling's not something that I dreamed of doing. But I was like, I saw this guy with cancer named Lance Armstrong. I found the 5-minute video clip they would show back in the '90s
Yeah.
of the Tour de France, which was a much smaller event than it is now. It was even world, like it was even looked for like on TV.
Right. Right.
So I saw this guy with testicular cancer metastasized to his colon, to his brain, to his lungs. And like, if this guy could ride a bike, I could ride a bike. What the hell?
Yeah.
So I was kind of chunky. I was about 315 pounds. I was a big old boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm going to try getting into cycling. So I was getting into cycling. My doc, I was talking to my doctor about it. He goes, that's great, Mike. You should do all the exercise you can. You shouldn't just follow the school of thought that says you need to rest and conserve your energy. Back then, you may remember, Brian, they told
Yeah.
us you got to relax, you got to conserve your energy.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to build energy. I'm going to build power. I'm going to do it.
Yep. And Mike, I love that because when I got diagnosed, my doctor, I was big into the weight room. Just got done playing football at Michigan, all that crap,
Mm-hmm.
and I just got done doing a triathlon when I went through my diagnosis, and I was in the weight room, and my doctor's I asked him, I'm like, should I stop working out, or what do I need to do? And he said the same thing. He's like, no, don't change anything, Brian. You said you're in great shape. Keep doing what you're doing, and just keep on rolling through life. And that's kind of the way I attacked it. You attacked it on a bike.
Yeah,
But I think exercise is so important with this disease.
it's so important.
However you can figure it out. And I even said, I understand that people get diagnosed a little bit later in life and they're not 27 like I was. They might be 30 or 40 and they already have a family. And I'm not saying you got to go out and ride marathons, or bike events, but as some kind of an exercise,
Do
you
something.
gotta do something.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Cycling, I think, is what's responsible and cycling hard. I mean, we did, at the end, we'll get into it, but a little further down the ride, down the road, I started a foundation with
Yeah.
my cycling buddy, Catherine, my best friend there, who was the caretaker of a good friend of mine that worked for me on Wall Street with MS.
Hmm.
We started this foundation. We started doing all this. We started doing these 500-mile, 6-day tours, really intense stuff, riding from Maine to Times Square,
Yeah.
Boston to DC, that type of stuff, really crazy stuff. We circled Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
It was really good stuff.
And
So,
and
and
and and and and I just want to reiterate the fact that you started out at 315. I mean, you right away you started like trimming your weight down. You got down into like
oh yeah,
the low 200s, and you were feeling
low
great.
twos, yeah,
You
low
and
twos.
you're
I was cycling.
and
Yeah, I was cycling 100 miles a day at 220, 225. I was getting it done.
yeah,
So, and I liked it. I found my comfort zone of my body and my weight. I knew what I needed to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Uh, and I, and it made me listen to my body. I could balance better if I was this. If I was a little weaker, I couldn't do things. It just made me listen to my body a little bit.
Absolutely. I say the same thing, Mike. When I played football, I played right around 300 pounds. And I couldn't carry that weight when I got diagnosed. And after I got done running the triathlon, I was about 250, 260. And since then, I mean, if I got on a scale today, I'm still like right around 265, 270 because that's a good weight for me. It's always been a good weight for me with my MS. And
That's me, right? That's me right now. I'm 270 right now,
yeah,
as of this morning.
yeah,
Naked. I know that could be an ugly picture, but yes, naked this morning at 270. So
yeah.
just kidding.
Hey, I just, I love the fact that, you've been kicking the shit out of MS as long as you had. And I know you ran into a lot of barriers and one of them, you were out doing all your rides and all that. And then all of a sudden you're getting diagnosed with brain cancer. I mean,
Yeah, that was the crazy part.
take us through all
That was
that.
the crazy part. Yeah, it's so funny that while I had MS, when people come up to you with that gratuitous, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. That nonsense you get from people that don't even know what it is.
Right. Right.
And I'm joking around. I would say, hey, it could be worse. Like, I could have cancer. But you know what? It got worse because I had cancer too.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
I was going for my annual MRI in 2013. And my doctor, who's the head of the clinic at Mount Sinai, is looking at my scans. I'd go in for my spa day, such I called it. I'd go in early in the morning and take my MRIs and see him in the afternoon and go up. And he's rolling through the slides on the screen on his little touchpad. And he's like, what's this? And I'm like, Doc, what's with all the noises? What's happening? He goes, I don't know if this is MS. I'm like, well, what is it? He goes, I think it's a brain tumor. I go, you think it is? And he goes, no, it's a brain tumor. I said, thank you for that clarity, Doc. So at the time, I'm working on Wall Street. I'm doing my thing. And he says to me, I was like, so what do I do? He said, if I were you, I'd find myself a good brain surgeon. So I looked at him. I said, Doc, brain surgeon? I could find you a good FX trader, a good bond trader, a good hedge fund salesman. Brain surgery, that's your wheelhouse, man.
Right.
Who do you call if I tell you that you got cancer? So then he stops, he goes to the directory and he calls his compadre. She was the head of neurosurgery over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an appointment with her, went to see her. And, you know, a very interesting process being told you have brain cancer. So, but the first thing I did was I went back to see Monty, my doctor, who I told I had a brain tumor 13 years prior.
Yeah. All right.
And I said, hey Monty, I just want to stop and I'll let you know I've got a tumor. He goes, really? I go, yeah, I got a brain tumor, man. He goes, oh. So I said, I just wanted to let you know and justify that conversation from 13 years ago.
There you
And
go.
he started laughing.
There you go.
And that was it. Yeah, it's like I just had to close the loop with him and make that point. It was my little,
I,
it was
I,
a really silly event to me, but
I would have done the same. I would have done the same thing, Mike. I love it.
so, and I just walked in. I had no appointment, nothing. I just walked in. I said, I told the receptionist, I got to talk to Monty for 2 minutes quick.
Yeah.
So between two appointments, I said, by the way, I have a brain tumor.
Mm.
He looked at me like I was crazy. And he goes, really? I go, remember the last conversation a while ago? He goes, yeah. You tell you? I go, I have one. And then he was like, oh, it's not. I go, no, it's MS, but I have a brain tumor now too. I got them both.
Yeah.
And then I just started to laugh. It's like, hey, what are the odds? But it is what it is.
Right.
But that really set me up to figure out. I could tell you it was interesting because having MS for 13 years prior kind of set me up at the mindset to be satisfied with my life. While living with MS, the best thing about having MS was the little lessons it taught me.
Mm-hmm.
The value prop of life, the value proposition of your activities and things you do with your family and friends,
Mm.
the things you choose to do at the moment.
Yeah.
And when you choose to do things, you see the value in them. And so I remember being rolled into a rolled in surgery, which is a very cold room, by the way. Oh, very,
Yeah,
very cold
they
room.
always are cold rooms. Yep.
Oh, it's so cold, and everything is shiny steel. It's
Yep.
like really pretty.
Yep.
So they transfer me to the little table with the holes in it. So I guess in case you bleed out, it's easy to get together, and then they start
Right.
lining you up. And I'm basically like I'm laying on like a cruise, like a cross, and I'm stretched out. And they're putting all the different lines into various parts of my body, uh, and it was pretty cool that throughout the entire process, everyone in that operating theater came by to introduce themselves to me and tell me what they're going to be doing.
Oh, really?
And I found it
The whole
very
team.
comforting. Yeah,
Yeah, the
dude,
whole team did.
I
Wow.
found it very comforting. Yeah. And then the doctor had her two med students with her, or two interns, or whatever they're called. And
Yeah, residents.
she introduced them as her interns. And I told them, I said, you could look, but you can't touch. And then they started the anesthesia, the anesthesia. And the next thing I remember is I'm waking up in ICU explaining to everybody how lobsters became a delicacy in this country in the 1700s or the 1800s. So, and that was that. But I got the whole value prop. But I remember laying there, and just as I was falling out, just going under, I said to myself, if I don't wake up, if I don't come out of this, I think I did everything I was supposed to do.
Hmm.
And that's the key thing right there. I think I did everything I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I do want to live. I don't want to die. I want to live because there's more to do, but I don't want to die.
Right.
So 19 months later, I fast forward 19 months later, and they call me back in because I had an aggressive reoccurrence. So, okay. Now I chose not to do chemo and radiation after that first surgery because radiation can help advance and progress your MS. So I opted out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I ran the risk of reoccurrence, and I ran the risk of a small cell seeding in my brain somewhere,
Right.
which it did. It definitely did. And then I had an aggressive reoccurrence. So within a 1 day call in, they rescheduled me. They rescheduled a lot of her surgical calendar and got me in for another operation. And then post that, I did the chemo and radiation for a year. And then post that, I was recovering on my Peloton, and I had a small brain bleed, a little minor stroke. From the radiation, it weakened the vein. So
Jeez.
I had all that kind of good stuff going on, which was pretty cool. So
Yeah. Right.
it was funny. I actually thought that the TIA, it was TIA. I thought it was my MS exacerbating,
Okay.
and my vision was blurry a little bit. And I was like, I never had an optic issue before. I guess something's new.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm getting in my car to drive to get my new glasses.
Oh my gosh.
I'm thinking, this is MS. I could drive my car with them. And, it's like I've done it before. But yeah, it was really weird. I'm driving with a stroke. It was
Wow.
nuts. Yeah, but so it was an interesting set of years. So from 2013 to 2018, that was
Yeah.
those 5 years
And
were
in and in the
my
mean
cancer years.
yeah, and in the meantime, like we were talking before, you were working on Wall Street. That's all gone because of this now. I mean,
Oh, dude, it's all gone.
yeah.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
I've got a nice big house that I built when I took my first company public with the partners,
Hmm.
you know, 10 years prior. I have a wife that hadn't worked since before the internet, a really nice lifestyle,
Hmm.
and two kids that I'm sending to college, one to Florida, one to BU, one to NYU with his master's, my daughter back to Florida for her master's.
Yeah.
They both went to private school going up to college. Everybody had privates and all that stuff. Um, and then the job I was doing, I couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
So I started my own thing while draining all my assets to pay my bills.
Yeah.
So it's just the ride you got to take, right? Listen, you can complain about all that stuff,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, I was still lucky to be alive.
Exactly. But
And in a weird, perverse way, Brian, MS saved my life. Had I not gone for my annual scan, I would never even have known about
yeah.
the tumor
Yeah.
until it was too late. I would never even have known. Not having little symptoms, this and that. And then in hindsight, I'm realizing that was all from that.
Right.
And I just assumed it was MS making me act weird or do weird things. But that's what but that's what it was. It was kind of ridiculous. But MS saved my life. It was for lack, not to sound corny, but it was my salvation
Yeah. I, you know, I, I,
and it saved
I
me.
understand that. I've always told people, it sucks that I have MS. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and lie that it sucks, but MS has humbled me, just to appreciate a lot of little small things that I never really appreciated before. I don't know. It's just weird. Even the people that I meet, I understand people a little bit better. If I hear somebody has POTS or somebody has fibromyalgia, I don't have those diseases, but I understand that those are diseases that are
You, ha-
real and they're invisible.
you have empathy.
So I
If
think,
you have empathy
yeah,
for it, you get it.
MS gave me that, and I appreciate that because there's a lot of people that don't have that, and they don't get it until they get it. Um, uh,
Yeah.
and I wish that they did get it, and I think that just listening to people, just on their journeys, it educates you. You listen to somebody that has Parkinson's, and to understand what it's like living with Parkinson's
Yeah.
or POTS or something like that. It's easy to do. I don't know why people don't do it. It's like everybody's
Or
afraid.
God forbid, MSAA, which is, no, MSA rather, MSA. Yeah. That one is a killer. That's
Yeah,
disease that freaks me out. I've
yeah,
met people with that. It's
yeah.
just, that's nothing but a death sentence. That is one that's crueler than cancer to me. That's crueler than dying of cancer.
ALS
But
is
these
yeah,
people, they live
ALS
with
is
it and they
yeah,
move forward.
yep, yeah.
And that's what we got to do, Brian. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, me and you talked about it before. We figure shit out. I mean, you ran into roadblocks because of the MS and the brain tumor, but you're still figuring it out. And you can't quit. And it's like, when I stopped the ability to work a year and a half ago, and now I came up with this podcasting thing. This is my motivation. This is what's driving me. And
Yeah.
you got to find something. You just can't lay down. And I think that's the attitude that you have, and that's what I really liked about you when
Yeah.
we
It's
first met. Is like you got that New York attitude, first of all, which I love, and your attitude with MS is like, just fuck you, MS. I'm gonna do it my way, and we're gonna kick the shit out of it. And you're doing the same thing with this
actually,
brain
actually my
tumor.
first tattoo, Brian. I got a tattoo when I turned 60 because I was going through I call it end midlife crisis. I did my whole right quad. And in a portion of the tattoo that is three letters, FMS,
Mm-hmm.
which my buddy who was just diagnosed with MS, he has it on his tattoos, FMS.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also a late bloomer to tattoos. And our friend, she's getting a tattoo now that has the letters buried in it, FMS. So yeah, we all say fuck MS,
Yeah.
right? And that's just the way it is, right? To the young people, it's fight MS, but in real life, it's fuck MS. I don't care.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna succumb to it.
Yep.
We just have to do it. And we also have to recognize where we are. We can't live in the past. Like I told you, one of my wake up points was, let's see, my son lives in California now. Excuse me. And I went out to visit him a couple of years ago. Um, there was Bills. It was the opening game for the NFL out there at SoFi. Bills versus Rams, and
Mm-hmm.
we're all Bills fans.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how many Bills fans in California. It's really something. So, but we went to SoFi, and it was the end of the heat wave in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So I never ever had an issue with heat before. I shouldn't say never had an issue. I was one of the MS guys that could handle heat.
Right.
All the long distance cycling I did. I love the beach. I love fishing. I love going out on a boat.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to let MS stop me from doing that stuff.
Mm.
So I did. The heat now at this point in my life, it destroys me.
Yeah.
So we went down to Disney in Anaheim. It was the heat wave was still going on. And people, oh, it's the last day of the heat wave. You're going to be okay. I'm like, no, this is awful. So the first morning I spent walking around. I couldn't even walk. I was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a couple of people just driving around on their scooters. And I realized if I was going to have a successful rest of the day and have a successful remaining trip,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to do something.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, I kept joking. I said, maybe I'll get one of those things. I pointed to somebody on a scooter. He goes, yeah, well, why not? I said, well, it's hard, man. It's just hard to do that.
It is.
And I was referring to my pride and my ego.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard. And we talked about that too,
But
Mike. We talked about that too,
yeah,
Mike.
say hard.
The first time I got on one of those in a public place was at the zoo with my kids, and I'm sitting there,
Mm.
But I mean, I wanted to go. I wanted to go. I wanted to be with my kids, and that's the only way that I could do it. And I knew that, so I sucked my pride up, and I got on that scooter, and it was the best thing that I did. I'm so glad that I did. And now, if I have to use my wheelchair, I'll use it. I don't care if I do things with a cane, I do things with a walker. But I'm not going to let MS stop me from doing things that I want to do. I'll do them,
No, it can't. It can't.
it
It
can't,
can't.
it
It
can't.
can't. And I never realized, Brian, I never realized how great, as I said to you earlier, how great that's once I got in, I felt like a brand new, super functioning human.
Yeah,
I felt like a Marvel hero. It was unbelievable.
yeah,
And now I'm making my wife and my son chase me around,
yeah.
and I'm making them work harder now because they broke my ass in the first half of the day.
Hmm.
So that trip ends. We go through all that, this and that, and then we're flying home. And an example of just how spoiled we've become on things like on incredible feats like flying across the country in an airplane. The internet was not working. So that was my bad. I can't believe the internet stopped working. Blah blah blah. And I start going down this rabbit hole,
Hmm.
thinking about all the things that I'm not going to be able to do because this was clearly an indication of my MS not allowing me to do even the simplest of things.
All right.
And I had a and I have a list of three things I planned on doing when I was in my 60s. Because I planned on doing them in my 60s. At 65, I wanted to ride from San Francisco down to Santa Monica and ride the PCH the whole way.
Hmm.
That was one of the trips I wanted to do on my bike. The other thing I wanted to do was go to Peru with my daughter and go see Machu Picchu and climb the steps and quote feel the energy.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to take a trip with my son to Tanzania and do the Kilimanjaro hike and experience all four climbs and then take a safari.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I wanted to do with each of them individually.
Right.
And as I'm flying home, I'm beginning to realize, that stuff is vanquished. It's done.
Yeah.
So I spent a decent amount of time, you know, wallowing and living in the past and all this type of good stuff. And then I just said, it's like that movie with what movie with Cher, A Moonstruck, when she slaps Nicolas Cage. Snap out of it.
Right. Right.
I'm like, okay, snap out of it. So snap out of it. And I began to realize, as I might have said earlier with you, Brian, while we were chatting, I found myself, in more recent days, but I found myself at that point realizing I'm living in the past. I used to do this. I used to. You know what? F used to.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
This is me now. I have this set of situations. My MS is not functioning the way it used to in the old days,
Hmm.
and this is me now.
Right.
What am I going to do? It's it's like these people, they want to do what they did when they were 25 years old. And like, oh, I'm getting old. You know what? Wear your age.
Right.
The woman that does, or the woman that doesn't want to go to the beach in the bikini because she's older. Wear your age.
Yeah.
I'm 62. I'm 62 years old. I'm 270 pounds. I have MS, and I'm not riding my bike, 500 miles in 6 days. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to climb the steps of Machu Picchu. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not hiking up Kilimanjaro because those things are impractical. They are not realities.
Yeah. Right.
What can I do? What can I do with my family? What can I do with my kids? What can I do with my friends? What can I do?
Yeah.
That's it. I can't be trapped in the past, Brian, but I can continue to carry on.
Yep.
Carrying on with your life is adapting. Is it? You have like just taking the scooter, right? You
Yep.
have to adapt. I had to make an I had to make an adaptation.
Hmm.
I had to move forward.
Yep.
And that's what we do. It's very easy to get caught up in and go down the rabbit hole of all the shit you can't do.
Right.
It's very easy to go down that path. But
A lot of times I'll tell people, because people ask me, doesn't it make you sad that you can't do the things that you used to do? I'm like, well, it kind of sucks that I can't, but MS is never going to be able to take away what I have accomplished. You know, it's never going to be able to take away the
Exactly.
it's never
Brian, you are so right.
yeah, it's never going
So
to be able
right.
to take away like what that I played in 3 Rose Bowls and a Gator Bowl. It's never going to be able to take away the fact that I had 2 kids when I had MS. It's never going to take away the fact that I worked 26 years with this disease. You know, I mean, MS
Yeah.
it can never take those accomplishments away. You know, and that's what I
No,
try.
it can't.
That's what I try to tell people. I'm like, don't pity the stuff that you can't do. Be proud of the stuff that you did do.
Yeah, but it's so true. And we have our memories. We have the things that we've done. I was I might have mentioned that my dear friend Catherine had come over to my house Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning on Memorial Day weekend
Hmm.
because she was there for most of my cycling accomplishments, cycling tours in Europe. I did 4 Pro-Ams.
Hmm.
She joined me on 3 of them. She speaks 6 languages, super smart, speaks fluent French like she was a local.
Hmm.
It came in very handy while doing those tours. Um, a brother who I might have mentioned, Peter, had MS before he passed. He worked for me in the old days at Lehman Brothers.
Hmm.
Um, and I said to her, I said, listen, I'm having a little bit of separation anxiety. I have all this stuff. I moved. I recently downsized. My kids are grown. As a matter of fact, my daughter's getting married next weekend. So my
Congratulations.
goal has always been to not let MS keep me from dancing with my daughter at her wedding. So
Go.
thanks for that, Brian. But yeah, so I'm about to reach that. I bought myself a nice, shiny new cane, a nice black one with a silver knob on top of it, nice
Awesome.
little walking stick.
That is awesome.
So it goes well with the tuxedo. I'm picking up my pocket squares today. It's going to look nice. So, but I will dance at my daughter's wedding despite MS.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Fuck MS.
So
I wouldn't miss that either. My daughter's 22 years
yeah,
old, and that is one of my goals.
it's
That's one of my goals too, Mike.
I'm
I've told my daughter I'm going to walk you down the aisle and we're going to dance whenever you get married, and that's one of my goals.
yeah.
Yep. I'd love.
Now my second possible fail is blubbering like a 2-year-old when I give her toast.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough to hold back the tears on. But
Yeah.
like a
Right.
toddler crying there. But
Right.
um, anyway, but where the hell was I? I forgot what was. Yeah, but so I asked her to come over, and I said, I find myself caught in the past, and I know I have all, because I downsized, I have all this stuff, all this memorabilia, jerseys from all these different tours we did, and rides we did, and races we did, and things that I won, and appreciation awards, and trophies, and plaques, and all types of gifts from various people. And I was like, Kat, you've been with me through most of these things. Can you just help me go through my boxes and just call bullshit? I just need to know
Yeah.
because I find myself gravitating back to the past. And it's just, it's human nature. It's what it is. I just need to
Right.
rid myself of that. I am what I am now. If I believe the things I said earlier, Brian, about this is me now, and these are the things I can do,
Hmm.
I can't keep looking back. I can't keep looking back at what used to be.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
I used to be
Absolutely.
an average student that got lucky on Wall Street and got a decent job and then got MS and now it's having his own quandaries. There you go.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
That's it.
So what can I say?
Yeah. Absolutely,
Um,
Mike. I love it, man. I
so,
love it.
so yeah, but I asked her, I said, Kat, please do me a favor. Just help me just rip through this stuff and just call bullshit, please. I need to walk away from the past. And if it's something that's worth keeping, like you would keep, or you think is something worth keeping, please just give me some guidance. But I threw out, I have how many bins out there at the curb that day? It was crazy.
Yeah.
So it was so much stuff just hit the bricks.
Yeah.
But I literally felt cleansed. I felt like I had this like brick lifted from the back of my brain. I was like, I'm not thinking about it. I wasn't immediately, I was not thinking about all the stuff I can't do. And I'm thinking to myself, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next?
Absolutely.
And it's a great way to feel. So now what's next? When I realized I can't, and the other thing was, during that time with, the whole California trip,
Hmm.
a month before that, I realized I can't ride the bike anymore. My right leg was not cooperating with the bicycle. It just wasn't working out.
Yeah.
So something that was a piece of my identity for so long was just taken away from me.
Yeah.
So that started me down this really weird way of thinking back then. And then I had the California incidents and whatnot. So now I'm just trying to think about what can I do. So I had, when my daughter was younger, one of the things I was able to do while living with MS in the early days was I coached the town swim team. My daughter's a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a fly girl and an IM girl. So I coached the town team. Well, I actually, I actually coached a women's team. Watched my daughter and all of her friends flourish into good swimmers. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dig swimming. I dig it. I attempted to try like you did, Brian, too, once, but it's not my thing. But I'm not a runner. I
Yeah.
don't run. I
Right.
do not like running. It's awful.
Yeah.
That's why God invented bicycles, so people don't need to run. But,
There you
but
go.
but I have a pool at my house, and it's not a big pool. It's a 20 by 40. It's an in-ground pool.
Mm-hmm.
I converted when I bought the house, I converted it to salt water, and I put a nice gas heater on it to keep it toasty for me.
Mm-hmm.
But last summer, I said I'm going to try to do something different. So I looked up how long it would take to virtually swim the English Channel.
Mm-hmm.
There's this app out there. You can go onto this app and find all these different challenges you could do virtually. So
Yeah.
one of them was swim the English Channel.
Yeah.
So which I think is 21 miles
Okay.
across.
All right.
And everyone that's on the app that's in that challenge is doing the same thing, and you're passing people and seeing them and whatever. So 24 days, I swam the English Channel in my pool. It was like the broken toy in the bathtub, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
That is just
Thank God for
awesome.
smartwatches. No,
Yeah.
thank God for smartwatches, because I would have lost count so many times.
It's,
But I was like, oh, but it was just kind of funny. I found swimming to be a nice replacement for the cycling.
that's what
It
I.
seems, you know what, nice and it's satisfactory.
That's what I was just going to say, Mike. I mean, you biked for so long, and that was taken away from you basically from the MS and the brain cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and you're still figuring it out. I mean, now you're in a pole swinging the English Channel. I mean, I just think that's amazing, and that's what I absolutely love about your attitude. You're just like, fuck MS. You know, you do this to me, I'm going to attack it this way, and that's, I just love that attitude, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. It's, you can't give up. It's with anything in work, your job, your relationship. Listen, when you got married and you had your first fight with your wife, are you just going to say, fuck it, I'm done?
Right.
No, we're going to figure out what went wrong and figure it out. And then your wife is going to tell you where you went wrong
Right.
and you'll figure
Right.
no playing the MS card if she's been around that long.
No,
Sorry.
no,
So,
no, no, nope. She knows those tricks. Oh man, Mike,
so,
I
but
I love talking to you, buddy. And give me
you got to work.
give
You got to
me
work for it.
give
There's
me
no free lunch, brother. There's no free lunch.
yeah, I want you to give one more shout out to anybody that is new in this diagnosis, and they're struggling with it. What would your message be to them? Just to keep their attitude, positive. What would you say to them, buddy?
Well, I'll say the same thing I said to my buddy Doug, who was just diagnosed at age 60. No, I'm 62. At age 61, he was just diagnosed. He's a year old, so he's 63. And he blames me for sharing a beer with me in college and getting it from me. But that said, um, I I told him, like over a mountain of sushi, because we are both big boys. We both like to eat. That's our common trait.
Right.
And we were just chowing down, and we were kind of getting teary with each other, this, that. And I said, Duddy, understand something. You used to love chopping down trees. You were the go-to guy. You were the guy with the pickup truck that helped everyone with that thing. Don't.
Yeah.
You want to? Your heart want? Don't. You're walking with a cane. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself out there to be the guy you were. And I see you doing it. I mean, I know his boss. We're all friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Joe tells me that you just not letting go. And he was treating his job like I treated my bike. There's a thing that proves to him that he's not broken.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're broken. We're different. We're not broken. We are good people.
Right.
We're good people that have this little thing called MS. I got blue eyes. I have my father's smile, my mother's ass, and I have MS.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So there's nothing to prove to yourself or anyone around you. Live your life. Live your life and don't second guess. And don't let MS rob you of your confidence to do what you want to do.
Love it, man.
People are there to help you. If you fall down someplace, they're there to help you. I took a fall in the middle of Wall Street last year. I went down the middle of the street. So many people just came to help me up. this one guy, a big, he saw this big strapping Marine came over now. It was a kid from New Jersey. He helped me out. He called me sir.
Hmm.
I find being called sir funny because I never think of myself in sir category. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
the same way.
And then this little tiny girl and this little tiny woman, she was maybe 5'4" and all maybe 107 pounds of her was trying to help the Marine prop me up. It was so cute.
Yeah,
But they were trying to help me.
yeah,
And that's the whole point, that there are people to help. You don't have to second guess yourself. You get to the airport, you fly that godforsaken Delta Terminal, Terminal 4 at JFK, get the wheelchair.
yeah,
What are you doing? You're going to get on the plane so tired to even travel. Just get the wheelchair. Do what you can to make your life easier and simpler.
yes, absolutely.
But work.
Yeah,
You got to work for it. There's no free lunch, man. Giving up is the easy part.
yep,
You got to do it. You have to put your head down to it and say, I can do it because I want to do it. It matters.
absolutely.
But that's the nice thing about MFs. The stuff that doesn't matter, you really don't give a shit about.
Yep, absolutely,
Yeah, that
Mike.
guy's a pain in the ass. I've got no time for them. Screw them. I don't want to do this. That's a stupid thing to do. Why would I waste my time doing that? I have so many more things that matter.
Yep,
And don't be afraid to share. I mean, like I said earlier, I try to insulate my family, my kids, my wife from it. And now that I'm progressing, it makes them nervous because they see the way I'm walking and stumbling, and they see it.
yeah,
So I went from 0 to 60 in their eyes in a matter of, a couple of years. It freaks them out.
right. Yeah,
Use the people around you that want to give you their love, give you their support, and want to listen. They want to be there for you. It's not bullshit. If they're coming to you, talking to you, and asking what you need because they care.
yeah.
Don't be afraid to let them into your life. We're not meant to be alone, especially with with this type of disease.
Yeah,
So
I
take
love it.
advantage of the people around you. Don't be afraid to look at the value of doing the things that you're getting sucked into doing, and don't be afraid to say no. Right?
I love it, Mike. I love it. I love it. I really appreciate you, Mike. You just I just love your attitude. Like I said, when I first met you, I really everything that you said, I'm like, my God, man, this guy's like my twin here in New York City. Um,
Oh, my beard's not as good looking as yours, but all right.
yeah, I mean, you're, you, well, that's all right though. I've been working on mine for a little bit. So, but no, that's a matter of opinion, but I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey with me. I will definitely have you on again, my friend. Love talking to you. If you want
Dude,
to,
it's my pleasure, Brian.
yeah, no problem, man. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me MS Michigan Man 64. Same thing with TikTok, MS Michigan Man 64. And also on Facebook, Brian Wallace out of Brunswick, Ohio. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Until the next episode, MS Michigan Man 64. I am out.